Steven Pinker, The Better Angels of Our Nature, Why Violence Has Declined. Welcome to the world of The Better Angels of Our Nature, Why Violence Has Declined, where Steven Pinker explores one of humanity's most intriguing traits, our propensity for violence. This book summary delves into the core motivations behind humanity's violent tendencies, while also highlighting how our better angels, empathy, self-control, morality, and reason serve to counter these impulses. You will not only gain a deeper understanding of the historical forces that have shaped our violent behaviors, but also observe the trends that have gradually led to reduced violence over time.
The evolutionary basis of violence. Violence is not just an erratic behavior. For humans, it's a natural tendency that can be traced back to our ancestors and evolution. Violence is an instrumental behavior that helps organisms secure resources, and humans' violent tendency is commonplace and even seen in young children. This violent streak seems to be neurologically hardwired in humans, but our instincts for violence need to be restrained because acting on them can prove harmful to our gene survival. Humans tend to use violence selectively, but our urge for it persists, and progressing our society relies on our ability to keep this tendency in check. Violence in social species. Violence is a dangerous strategy for getting what you want. Social species avoid unnecessary battles by establishing dominance hierarchies. Males tend to dominate due to their relative size and strength, which determines their access to females. Violence is used by males to secure resources and gain a higher position in the hierarchy. However, females' preferences changed when hunter-gatherer tribes were established, leading to loyalty and generosity being a crucial part of our evolutionary success. The power of revenge. Why is the desire for revenge so ubiquitous? This book excerpt suggests that it is a universal phenomenon, with almost all cultures advocating for blood vengeance. Revenge doesn't always refer to immediate retaliation, but also the tendency to hold grudges and seek retaliation long-term. Despite revenge not having material benefits, it creates a pleasurable response in the brain, similar to that of cocaine or chocolate. Revenge can be viewed as a deterrent, making would-be attackers consider the potential long-term costs of their actions. Our sense of morality also plays a role, as we tend to believe that bad actions should be reciprocated. Sadism, a monstrous instinct. Deliberately inflicting pain on others for pleasure sounds grotesque. Sadism once featured in ancient Rome and medieval times, where public executions provided entertainment. Sadism often gets coupled with other forms of violence like revenge. However, pure sadism is rare in modern times. It takes time to develop a taste for it, but once it's acquired, such behaviors can become addictive. It's unclear how important sadism was in human evolution, but it may have developed as a survival instinct that aids in extremely violent conditions. Sadism seems inherently objectionable, making it puzzling how it can become enjoyable. Nonetheless, the phenomenon is terrifying and thankfully rare in today's age. Ideological violence. This book snippet explores how ideologies can be the driving force behind violence. Ideological violence aims to achieve a utopian ideal and can influence groups of people to act against their better judgment. Humans tend to separate into groups and develop hostility towards outgroups, making them susceptible to dangerous ideologies, even letting toxic ideologies go unchallenged because of groupthink. However, while these motivators can paint a grim picture of human nature, as we will see in the next parts, we also have tendencies that can lead us away from violence. Empathy, our first better angel. Empathy is the first better angel of our nature that reduces our violent tendencies. It developed to encourage us to care for our kin, especially our children, promoting altruistic concern for the well-being of others. Empathy helps us form mutually beneficial relationships with non-relatives and learn to extend our empathy to others. Evidence suggests empathy can be boosted by drawing attention to similarities and learning about others' unique perspectives. However, empathy can have a dark side, leading to unfairness. In a study, subjects showed empathy for a sick 10-year-old girl, allowing her to skip the line for medical treatment, passing those in more urgent need. Willpower and the brain. Studies show that our impulses and our resistance to them come from different parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. The former is responsible for our self-control, or willpower, while the latter sends impulses to seize immediate rewards, bypassing rational thinking. The prefrontal cortex must control such impulses so that we can make a rational decision. People who lack self-control tend to behave violently and have shrunken prefrontal cortexes, according to brain scans of violent people. However, willpower can be strengthened through practice, such as engaging in self-control exercises. Historical data shows that outlawing violence forces citizens to keep their aggressive impulses in check and strengthen their willpower, leading to less violence. On the other hand, poor nutrition can also weaken willpower. Therefore, the overall improvement of nutrition in the world should lead to a decline in violence as self-control gets stronger. The dichotomy of morality. Our moral sense has both encouraged and reduced violence throughout history. For themes, communal sharing, authority ranking, equality matching, and market pricing, guide our moral behavior. While they can promote peace and cooperation, they can also justify violence and persecution. The spreading of new ideas is helping shift our moral compass towards nonviolent ways of being. The power of reason. The human capacity for reason is a product of natural selection. Creatures who value their own life and welfare are more likely to use reason to achieve peace instead of violence. This is achieved through politicians using reason to create shared goals, debunking superstitious beliefs, and enabling us to think in terms of the common good. Better reasoning leads to less violence, more cooperation, and views that are compatible with peace. The Flynn effect shows that IQ and abstract reasoning have increased due to schooling and critical thinking. Understanding the power of reason is key to enhancing our better angels and reducing inner demons. Pacification Process. The pacification process that took place about 5,000 years ago caused a significant reduction in violence. Nomadic societies were not as peaceful as previously thought, as they battled for resources, kidnapped women, and took revenge on others. Anthropologists played down this violence, but statistics show that about 15% of deaths in hunter-gatherer tribes were violent compared to only 1% in states. The rise of agricultural states with formal governments helped reduce violence. Governments understood that societal conflict would reduce productivity and revenues for the ruler. Thus, the reduction in violence was beneficial for both rulers and citizens. Over time, governments became increasingly concerned with reducing violence for the common good, although state-on-state violence remains a problem in many parts of the world. The Civilizing Process. The book explains how the civilizing process that began in 15th-century Western Europe led to a significant reduction in violence. Two forces drove the civilizing process: 1. The increase in the size and strength of European states, and 2. The expansion of trade networks. As knights gained power to consolidate estates and became kings, they developed interests in punishing violence and limiting the conflicts of their subjects. Technological advances and infrastructures, such as clocks, windmills, horseshoes, and national currency, increased productivity and made trading easier. Trading offered a non-violent way to gain wealth and discouraged violence because those who traded with others valued their lives. As a result, violence decreased significantly, and many people gave up violence in favor of trade. The Emergence of Humanitarianism. The book highlights the third major decline in violence caused by the emergence of humanitarian philosophy in 17th and 18th century Europe. This philosophy led to the decline of killing in the name of superstition and religion, the end of slavery, and the humane treatment of criminals. All of these changes resulted from the growth of humanism, a philosophy that values human life and happiness and uses reason and empirical evidence as a driving force. The invention of the printing press in the 16th century played a crucial role in the dissemination of ideas and the promotion of empathy and reason. The Long Peace. The occurrence of violent conflicts has decreased significantly since the end of World War II, leading to an unprecedented period of peace among major powers. This shift away from violence is due to several factors, including fewer small states vying for power and fighting, rendering trade more profitable, and a decline in religion being used as a reason for war. Furthermore, Enlightenment thinkers argued that the role of the government should be to enhance the lives of its citizens, which discourages the idea of going to war. From 1945 to 1955, the number of deaths that resulted from military conflict around the world was about 17 in every 100,000 people. Recently, however, this number has reached a low of 1 per 100,000 people. The declining inclination towards mass-scale warfare is a result of the long-term effects of the civilizing process and the study of human enlightenment, which ultimately lead to a significant reduction in violence spawned by war. Decreasing violence since the Cold War. Violence has reduced significantly since the end of the Cold War from 1991 to the present day. Proxy wars in smaller states between the US and Soviet Union that occurred during the Cold War stopped once the Cold War ended. Civil wars have also decreased as more countries are adopting democratic reforms to eradicate the need for conflict. The international community has played a role in this reduction by offering financial support for democratic reforms and setting up peacekeeping forces in conflict zones. Genocides have become rarer as a result of suppressing ideologies that led to massacres and an increase in democratic governments that tend not to engage in such slaughter. Lastly, terrorism has declined despite popular belief to the contrary, with political terrorism becoming less frequent since the 1960s and 1970s. The support given to terrorists by Cold War parties ended with the Cold War, leading to a decrease in terrorism-related deaths. Recent signs also show a decline in support for terrorism in the Muslim world since 2007.
As we've journeyed through the intertwined relationship between our violent instincts and our better angels, it becomes apparent that our capacity for aggression is not all doom and gloom. Instead, our empathy, self-control, morality, and reason have served to check and mitigate our destructive impulses. While the historical trends documented in The Better Angels of Our Nature remind us that our world has made significant strides towards reducing violence, these same trends also highlight the need for continued work in promoting empathy, understanding, and cooperation. Ultimately, by harnessing the power of our better angels, we can pave a path towards a more peaceful and harmonious future for all.